All right, welcome back to Musicians Edition. Today we're going to look in Essential Elements at number 51 at the suspended cymbal part, okay? So, a couple things to consider when we're playing suspended cymbal. One is what we're going to hit it with, right? And two is the cymbal itself, right? So you see here I have a cymbal. I have a cymbal stand. I'm going to take the wing nut off of there, right? You're going to want two felts when you play cymbals, right? Or a suspended cymbal, right? And those are just these little black things or gray things that kind of sit in between. One little trick you can do if you find yourself only having one, if you grab these in the middle, you can peel them apart and then you have two. But you're definitely going to want one on either side of the cymbal, on the bottom and on the top, okay? So you see there's a sleeve on this cymbal stand, right? I'm going to put one felt on that sleeve, right? And then I'm going to sit my cymbal very carefully down over the top, right? And you see the plastic sleeve keeps that cymbal from touching the metal part of the stand, okay? I'm going to take my other felt, put it on top, take my wing nut, tighten that down. Now, I don't like to tighten these down very much. I like to let the cymbal move around. I think that helps it sound better. But you do want to have something on there so that the cymbal can't fall off. But you don't want to have it tightened down to where it's pushing down on the cymbal. Probably, maybe in some contexts, but generally I like to leave it fairly loose, right, to where it's just holding it on. The cymbal's not going to go anywhere, but it's not really pushing the felt down into the cymbal. Okay. The next thing is mallets, right? So we're going to play this cymbal with mallets that are wrapped in yarn, right? Some type of soft covering is what we're gonna use for this. All right. Okay. So now, when we hit a cymbal, the closer to the edge of the cymbal is typically going to be a better sound, right? It's going to be a less articulate sound, right? And we usually just want to get a nice wash of sound from a cymbal. We don't want a whole lot of articulation. If we do want a lot of articulation, then we can use a stick or something like that, or we can play closer to the center if we want that. In this context, we don't really want that so much, okay? So you see over the top of the whole note you have in 51, in the first measure of 51, you see those three little slashes, right? And that tells me that I'm going to roll on this cymbal, right? Or I'm going to hit the cymbal multiple times to get a sustained sound, okay? And it works a little differently than on snare drum. If you remember on snare drum, when we try to play a roll or a buzz, we push the stick into the head and let it bounce a bunch of times, right? We don't do that on cymbals because if you try to push the mallet into the cymbal, then you end up muffling the cymbal, right? And having it produce less sound and less sustain than if you just hit it and let it ring, right? So if you push into it, it kind of muffles itself, right? If you let it go, then it keeps ringing, all right? So what we want to do is just play this over and over, just enough times to keep the cymbal moving, right? And to try to get a sustained sound out of it, right? So something like this. Okay. You don't have to do it fast, right? And you don't have to do it very loud, right? You can think about raising your stick heights just a little bit if you want more volume, right? But a cymbal will get pretty loud pretty quick, so you got to be careful with it. All right. So let's look at that roll in number 51. It's followed by a whole note right after it. You see that? Okay, so we're going to roll for 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to play one note on beat 1, and then let it ring for 4 counts. Okay, so it's going to look like this. All right, and then when we get to the next measure, we have to kind of make a decision. Do we want to let that cymbal keep ringing into measure 3 where we have rests, or do we want the cymbal to stop right there, right? It's not always clear, but you can think about letting the cymbal ring as long as there's a note going on and then muffling it when you have rests, right? Not always. One of the things you have to do when you play cymbals is use your ears, listen to the context of how the cymbal applies to the rest of the group, and make a choice if you want to muffle the cymbal or not muffle the cymbal, okay? So let's pretend for now, let's assume for now that we're going to go ahead and muffle the cymbal on the rests, right? So while I'm rolling, I have to think 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, let it ring, 2, 3, 4, and muffle, right? When we muffle the cymbal, we want to try to grab onto exactly the same place that we were playing, right? Which is going to be the furthest edge of the cymbal, right? As far away from each other as we can get our hands, right? So like this, and then when we muffle, we're just going to grab on right there, right? You don't have to do much other than touch it, right? So I'm just play and then touch, and it'll go away, right? So let's try that roll again. 2, ready, go. Okay. At the end, you have 2 notes, right? One on beat, a quarter note on beat 4, half note on beat 1. And those, if you notice your dynamic, are piano, right? Or soft or quiet, right? So we're just going to play with one hand, 4, 1, but nice and gentle. Still at the edge of the cymbal, right? If you wanted to get a little more articulation out of it, you could move it towards a little bit towards the center of the cymbal. And you hear, like we talked about a minute ago, that gives me a little more of a staccato kind of sound, right? Or a more detached, shorter sound, as opposed to. Right? I'm gonna go ahead and go with this sound for now, right? So, thinking roll 2, 3, 4, crash 2, 3, 4, muffle 2, 3, 4, 1, right? Make sure we pay a lot of attention to our dynamics. Also, you have to make sure that you're counting in your head and really focusing on that so that you can keep time through all of this, okay? So let's try that. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, and then we have a half rest after the 4, 1, right? So I'm going to muffle on beat 3. Again, you may or may not do that depending on what's going on in with the rest of the ensemble that you're playing with. But for now, we'll practice muffling on beat 3 and then repeat. And we'll go right back into the roll. Okay, so here's the whole thing, number 51, with the repeat. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so yet another one of the super fun things we get to do as percussionists. So have fun with that, and I will see you next time.